Test, 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 test. Oh. Well, I've already messed up because I did not intend for that to go out live. I'm going to mute me here for a second. You probably heard me smack it on gum, too. Be back in a little bit, Jan. sound. Okay, so now we can do a sound check by looking at it. I'm a little loud.
Hello, sound check. Hello. Actually, my sound should be less echoey now than it has been before. I don't know.
Yours was always good for me.
Yeah, in the other house, it was kind of bouncy. It's still a little bouncy in here. I can hear it. I can hear it. It drives me nuts. In the new studio, so this is temporary. This place.
Yeah.
I'm just in this pink room right now. And I put as many colored lights as I could in here to try to change the color of the room. But it is pink, so just I can live with that. But it's this is just a temporary room. So as soon as we sell the other house, we start building the YouTube studio in the basement. So I'm excited.
This is the main. You're on the main floor right now, and just another room.
Yeah. So this house, the amazing thing about this house, and I haven't done a walkthrough tour yet, and I'm going to do that for everybody on Patreon just so they can kind of see the place. And I'm going to do it with the 360 camera so you can look around and do that kind of stuff. But this place is it's a single level ranch is what they call it.
Okay.
But the first floor is 1,720 square feet, which is 10 square feet larger than our whole other house, which was two-story.
Right.
So this is all on
basement.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go down and we have a 40 by 60 basement downstairs. Nice. Yeah, and it's got 11-foot ceilings. So this house was built to have another level on it, but the people who lived here for 10 years, because this house is only 10 years old, they didn't do anything with it. So for us, it was like the price we paid was what we expected to pay on a full 2-story home. Mm-hmm. But we were like, 1,700 square feet. And then we're like, wait a minute. When we finish the basement, this place will be over 3,300 square feet.
Yeah,
and that will put it up into the, the category of, in this neighborhood here, of probably being $425,000 area, somewhere in there.
Yeah, nice.
So it turns our investment, really well. So it's a tough pill to swallow, this much money, but in turn, if we do what we're planning to do with it, it'll end up being worth more money, and maybe even be when we're ready to in 10, 15 years to retire, we just sell it and go live in a camper somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, often if you can get a ranch with a basement, you end up with a much bigger house than, like the one right next to me is a ranch with a basement. Mm-hmm. I am a 2-story with a basement, and he finished his basement, and he actually has more square footage than me, even though I have a 2-story with a basement. Yeah,
and this house is so deceiving. You look at it from the road, and you're like, "This is a nice little house you got there,"
mm-hmm.
And then you get inside, and you're like, "Wait a minute, 1,700 square feet is just the first floor."
Yeah.
And then we have an attached garage, and it's a 2-car garage too, and that's really nice. And we're going to heat that, and that's going to be my workshop for my 3D printing and all that kind of stuff. So it's really set up. It's really awesome.
So you have enough room in the garage to park and do the 3D, or just do the 3D?
Yeah. No, we have that much room in the garage.
That's
too.
Nice.
The garage, I think, is 25 by 25 or 25 by 30. It's ridiculous.
We have a 2-car garage too, but I built some built-in shelving that goes from the floor all the way to the ceiling.
Oh,
and it's nice. It's a nice shelving unit that I built. And at the time, I had a Toyota 4Runner, and that fit just barely in there. Mm-hmm. Since then, I've bought a Tundra, and I don't fit in there. I think if I took those shelves out, I would just barely fit.
Yeah,
I think I'd have
to getting in and out.
I'd have to actually take the trailer hitch off. Oh. Even with the shelving unit out, I still have to take the trailer hitch off to fit in. It's that tight. So I never, I'm never going to be able to park in our garage, but my wife can.
Yeah.
So and that's good for her. Rainy day to be able to pull in and pull out from a garage.
Yeah, trucks live outdoors anyway, so
yeah, it's a truck.
It's a truck. That's right. It's supposed to be outside. So yeah, and then that's the way it is right now. Our Hyundai is in the garage, but the Subaru's out in the elements, which is pretty much where it lives anyway. Mm-hmm. So But yeah, we're just excited to have some room to space out a little bit. So
yeah, it's gonna be fun finishing off that room. A lot of work, but getting what you want.
Well, and hopefully we're going to get some contractors that are a little bit more on the ball. We've got a horrible, and I won't share it on this show because I think there's some other amazing news to talk about at the end and the post show that I want to ask you about. But
okay.
I think that I'll tell you the story of what we've dealt with for contractors and a large box hardware store where we spent an upwards of a little over $10,000 on appliances and installations, and so far that's gone completely wrong. Right now we don't have a stove.
So that stinks.
Yeah, in our new house, and we haven't had one for 2 weeks. So we're just eating out of cardboard boxes right at this, which is horrible because we're like good eaters. We like to make our own food. We like to get locally sourced food, all that kind of stuff. And I love to cook it, and that, and I can't do any of that stuff. Yeah, so
that sucks. Yeah. All right, I don't think you're on Facebook anymore, but
nope.
Okay. It looks like it says 1 minute off. Okay, because I'm looking at another screen where it says the time has passed for this show.
Oh, better go.
So I am going to let's take that off. Take that off. Nope, not that off. Take that off because we're about to start. And I'm going to try something, AD. I can find it. Yeah, let me pull that up. I'm going to try something when we go live here in just a little bit.
Okay.
I got to wait for Facebook to come in, and then we'll say something, and then we'll go live.
All right.
Got Gary and Jan at least out there. I don't know who. Anybody else out there I missed?
Don't think so. Oh, I can get a list of participants. Nope, that's it. Jan's not there. Jan.
She was here earlier. She was here earlier. Yep.
She'll be back.
Yep. I had my mic on earlier and didn't know it was on, and she said I was doing the test watching my audio, and she said I can hear you. I was like, oh boy, didn't mean for you to hear that because I was smacking on my gum too.
That's great.
All right, Facebook is now live. You ready?
Hello, Facebook.
Ready to get started, AD? All right, we'll be right back. All right, this is JPEG the Raw Photo Review, show number 25. We're back from a short, short break. And we're catching back up. We're doing the February photos that were entered into our contest. Before we get into those, I wanted to show you how you can enter if you want to enter into the contest. There's two ways. One from Facebook, and there's links here on our site, and the other is from our site, jpegtheraw.com/contest. You can go there, you can enter the beginner, you can enter the regular group through the site or through Facebook. Either way, you can go that way and enter if you're still on Facebook. Not everybody is still on Facebook, but you can always enter through the website also to do that. All right, so tonight, like I mentioned, we're going over the February images, and we're going to hang out for the post show too, because we're going to do a little bit of catching up on AD. We did a little bit in the pre-show. We're going to do a little bit more in the post show because last time we talked to AD, he was in the process of moving, and now he's, I think, moved, but physically moved. And if you ever moved, there's a long process of getting settled back in. So that's still going on. But we'll talk about that in the post show. And before we do that, let me get our first image up, which is from the beginners group. Hold on here. There we go. And this is from Christina Binge, this first image up. And I will say, Christina, and we had several people in the group who were just so creative and coming up with different things. Christina says, playing around with Alien Bee Light. Awesome. My youngest daughter in a small seamless backdrop had a prompt of Kool-Aid. Had a prompt of Kool-Aid. So that's what I came up with for it. Still much to learn with using natural light sources, with non-natural light sources, but thought I'd post. And I think that's awesome to be trying to work with non-natural light sources, flashes and that kind of stuff, because it is a different challenge. It's a lot of people are intimidated, including me, by the flash. It does add another complexity to it. But here, Christina trying that, and I think she did an awesome job.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a good example. We've talked about this before, and this is, one of the reasons why Christina is not a beginner photographer. We don't consider that she is, but she did submit to this group, and that's great because what she's doing is experimenting. And a lot of times life gets busy, or the weather doesn't play well, we can't get out. I love just doing stuff in the studio and experimenting and finding out what my camera and my equipment is capable of. And of course, you're learning, and you will be surprised how much that you learn in the studio and learn even with flash units and everything else that will enhance your other photography. So say you're a landscape photographer and that's what you love to do, but the weather's crappy, or maybe you break your ankle, or you can't get out or something, but you don't not love photography anymore, so you want to do something. And you can set up stuff in your house and practice. And what this is going to do is you're going to learn to use your flashes. You're going to learn to use different light sources and whatnot. And then when you get back on your feet, or the weather clears up, or you get the chance to travel, you can try different things with those flashes. And I'll give you for instance, once you learn how to trigger your flash and you learn to trigger it off camera, I've done photo shoots at night where we have artificially lit the insides of buildings and whatnot to really enhance the scene. And if I hadn't wanted or played around with the flashes and known how to operate them, then that probably wouldn't even have been an option to even try. But we ended up getting an amazing image because we practiced something completely out of our realm. And I suggest this all the time, Mike. I think on the show we talk about it all the time, and is always try different things and run full force into maybe what's not your forte, or you might be surprised it might become your forte. You never know. And I think this is a great example of that. It shows Christina's practicing here, and I like the shot. If we were to talk about the particulars of the shot, and Christina, if you're looking to delve into this a little bit more, I consider this to be kind of like a product shot or a stock shot that you would sell. And when you get into stock photography and you start getting into that sort of thing, there's just a few suggestions here. I'd probably get rid of the Kool-Aid packages themselves. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what's going on there. And it would sell as a stock image. Actually, you couldn't have the Kool-Aid labels in there to sell it as a stock image, by the way, just so you know, because what's on that package is actually copywritten, and you can't reprint or resell those out without permission. And basically the way the Kool-Aid company looks at it is like, this image, even though it's great, and they probably would like it to represent their company, they, without authorization, they wouldn't want you to label this. Anybody sees this says, oh, this is Kool-Aid, right? And
well, if you try to submit it to a stock agency, they won't even accept it unless you have the release.
Right, and she would actually need a release for her daughter to be signed as well, because you can see her whole face, and that's how that whole thing works. But a little, I would probably nix that if you wanted to do this as a stock image. And then also the little tip of the blue straw in the bottom of the picture. Now, I know this isn't a big thing, but with product photography, it really comes down to, in stock photography, it really comes down to guiding the person's eye and selling the product. So you don't want any distractions anywhere. You really want to control what the viewer sees. So I would probably just have cloned out that little blue straw down there in the bottom. But other than that, it's a beautiful image. I mean, focus, everything is great. The focus is right on the eyes, and she shot with a big enough depth of field that you can see everything in the image, nice and tack sharp.
And it looks like she did a good job with the lighting too.
And the lighting. So yeah, I left that for last. And that's a great point. She's got an Alien B light, which are awesome lights, and very controllable. And she's learning to use that. And I think that, I would say, just my opinion here, but I would say, mission successful. I think she learned to get a good shot. The light looks very natural. It doesn't look like it's coming from an artificial source. She doesn't have cast shadows behind her subject. And to further this, Christina, move that light around. Maybe try some stuff where the light's coming from behind and in front. Alien Bs I know are very expensive, so you probably don't have two of them. If you do, that's awesome. You might want to play with having some backlight a little bit. And we used a thing called a snoot. I don't know if you ever used those, Mike, but basically it just focuses the whole flash down into a little round beam of light. And they're great for putting them down low behind the subject so that they don't flash out into the scene, but you can target that backlight right on the back of the person's head or hair, and it will give that nice shimmer around their hairline and really add an accent to that as well. So she's definitely on the right track.
I wonder if she thought about this as a stock image, because you're right. If you take the Kool-Aid out, and she can reshoot this again, since it's artificial light. She can just recreate the scene again and shoot that, and I bet you it would sell.
Absolutely. And if you delve into product photography, now it's a wonderful thing, and we all know there's bad product photography because we've seen it. Just go to Amazon, you can find some of it. And there's good product photography. And if you follow any good product photographers, you will know, you will learn very quickly that business is it's a little bit in so getting it set up, the shot set up, and executing the shot. But there is a lot of post processing in product photography, a lot of it. And you can clean an item and blow it clean and take a picture of it with a camera with lights on it and everything, and all of a sudden all these little speckles of dust will just show up out of nowhere. And you have to go through and clone every single bit of that out. It's got to look, brand new, perfect. No one wants to represent, the new iPad with a dusty,
fingerprints all over the place. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's a very, it's an amazing industry, and the editors are really amazing that edit those photos. And some of this, like I've seen water splashes, where they make the water go into shapes. You've probably seen stuff like that for different sorts of alcoholic beverages. They have that. And it's just amazing, but that's all, a lot of it is post. So there's some pre-shots, and then they take some shots of just the water, and then they get the water to kind of take like 50 shots of water, go splashing up, and then edit it in. So I love that she's trying this, and I think it's she's definitely successful at it. So I hope to see more images from Christina. We've liked all of her shots that she submitted. So
absolutely, great job, Christina. All right, next is this image from Scott Norris, and I don't know what you see when you see this, but now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. Okay. I always, and it's not a negative, it's just what I think of when I see this image. I think of Star Trek.
Yeah. So, funny story. I think I was with, now, maybe not with Scott on that day, but Scott, lives in Milwaukee, so, and he took me to the art museum, and we went around and we shot together and just kind of played through each other's eyes a little bit, because he goes there all the time, and I was a noob going there, and I was seeing different things, and he was really enjoying that I had a different view. I could have been there the day he shot this. I don't know. I think this might be a little later, but yeah, I totally this whole entryway. We had a submission last week or the week before of the entryway to the Milwaukee Art Museum, and it is just stunning. It's stark white. Like, that's what I thought too when I was there. I was like, wow, this is like the most futuristic, And I think I was on my Twitter page for a long time. I had the Milwaukee Art Museum with the lake shot out in back of it, and it's just stunning, the building. And I wish I could think of the architect because I knew it right off the top of my tongue. And Scott will tell you in 2 seconds because he's like a living history of this place. But yeah, Scott just always he takes simple things and conjures great stories. I mean, and you can't look at his images without your brain going, like, oh, wow, that's cool. Like, ooh, like just imagine, that's what it makes your brain do. And I think that's a sign that, he's a successful artist. He's a starving artist, like most artists are, but he's successful in the fact that he does the job when he takes an image like this. I'm gonna pick on Scott, even though he's in a regular group. Scott, I'm gonna get you, man, because Scott was my apprentice. I say that lightly. We studied together pretty much. Scott's a brilliant guy, and he became a master at the Arcanum.
I'm wondering what you're gonna say about this one, because
So Scott, there's a dust spot on your photo. Right in the center, above the circle, there is a dust spot, my friend. It's right there. I'm pointing at it so if you look at the pyramid and you go straight up, exactly in the center between the top part of the circle and
that's a dust spot. That's not just
Don't think that's the perspective's wrong for it to be recessed light or anything like that, because it would be oval. It'd be the same shape as the circle that you're looking at. So I'm picking on Scott for that. Scott, you missed that, man. Come on.
I had several spots on my monitor I had to get off before I could find it.
Oh, do you know how many times I've been editing a photo and been like, why won't that spot remove? Why can't I get it off the photo? This thing doesn't. Oh, it's on my monitor.
Yeah. I had
that's happened.
Gary asks, is this picture a composite?
No. This is not. This is what's if you ever get a chance, Gary, to go to the Milwaukee Art Museum, dude, you just could wander in there for hours and see these cool, it is like being in some other, in the future. This building is so remarkable and stark white everywhere, and they keep it spotless. You can find these crazy angles and all this cool symmetry. So no, this is not a composite. This is actually the real deal. Now, he may have done some editing on the lights that go around the bottom, but they're not perfectly symmetrical. So I'm going to say he probably just post-processed this as far as for tone and that sort of stuff. But there's nothing here that I believe that's out of place or changed, as far as I know.
Well, it is a cool look.
Yeah, very cool. Scott always submits things that just make me want to go out and shoot, because anytime I see really good photography, I'm like, oh man, I got to get out there and do this. This is why I do this, is to get stuff like this.
Motivated.
Yep. Very cool.
All right. Up next is this one from Amber. And Amber says, this is a composite, by the way, Gary.
Yes, for sure.
Another composite shot from the setup I posted earlier in the week. I am a firm believer in laughing at yourself. It's okay for girls to look and act silly. Not all portraits need to be prim and proper. Just because I'm not model material, and she put that in quotes, doesn't mean I shouldn't have pictures of myself. Phone selfies don't count.
Absolutely. And so, and I would much rather see these photos of all my female friends than selfies. So I hate selfies. So I'm just saying.
And I know that we'll talk about this one, I think, when we do the March photos, because you gave her some ideas on something she did for a photo for that one. So she's getting into the composite side of doing this. And in this one, I like how she added the little fog onto the glass there.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. Let's talk about things in the image that when you do a composite like this. So Amber's venturing out into unknown territory, and she's doing a wonderful job. She's putting herself out there, which is very important, and especially in this group where we talk about this sort of stuff. Compositing is a ridiculous hard thing to pull off and make it believable, because you're usually taking two different shots with two different lenses or more. Sometimes it's 5 different cameras and 5 different lenses, who knows. But it's very hard to match the position of the camera, the angle of the camera, the angle of the light sources, all of that stuff to make a believable image. You have to edit that stuff in post or get it right when you take the shot. So I've taught for many years compositing and I've had a lot of shots put out there, not of landscapes, but that I've done for products, I've done for senior photo shoots and that sort of stuff that have been composites. And what we basically try to do is we have to take the element that we like the light in. So I would take, like this scene, I would take the jar and all that looks great in the light. And I would try to make sure that the light on Amber matched what I'm seeing in the outside part of it. And also, on top of that, the angles of everything have to match as well. So what stands out to me in the image is her left hand is just curved a little bit too much for the inside of the glass. Because of the circumference of the glass, it probably would look better if her left hand wasn't so turned out and it was a little bit more flat. And that would have been more believable as she was pressing against the glass. And like you said, the fog and everything, that's excellent. That works great. I think I would have probably put a cap on the glass too, because it's like you're trapped in the bottle, right? And that kind of sells the story because the bottle's open. You're like, well, just jump up and get out of the bottle. I mean, so you're trying to tell a story here. There's a whole bunch of elements to learn with composites, especially when you're trying to tell a story with adding all these components. The ones of the dogs that she did were amazing. I mean, they were tied together very well. She did a little extra work on that. You have to do some dodging and burning around the edges of your composited in subject. So in like an image like this, I think I would have tried to make maybe I would take a clone of her, the layer that she's using for herself, and I would actually distort that using the in Photoshop. You can use the I think it's called Liquify tool, and you can bend the image. And what I would do is try to kind of widen myself out a little bit and squeeze, because you know how like reflections in glass, and you can kind of see it. Yeah, they distort it. And then what I do is then lower that opacity way down to maybe 1 or 2%. So it just is a shadow there, and you can see the reflection. These are all things that'll sell the image, because right now you can see the fog in front, and that's a little bit of a selling part. She did do around the shoe there, and that's a good selling part. But then you notice the rim of the glass in front of
between the knee and the foot.
Right. So Amber, I'll give you a little hint here which will help you out. Make a copy of the jar front where you're going to appear and save it off on a layer by itself, and just the jar front, and then paste yourself in there, and you'll know what I'm talking about, on a layer. And then the next layer above it, move that jar front that you copied to the layer above you, so it's in front of you now, blocking you. And then what you want to do is change the blend mode on that actual layer to soft light. And what that'll do is it'll take all the highlights and it'll draw them in front of you. And that'll make people believe you're really in the glass. Cool. Because right now I can see the rim around the glass goes behind her legs, yet she did the bottom rim perfectly. So that's a little tip on how you can get the glass reflections in front of you. And that's what you want, right? You want the glass to be see-through. You want to look like you're in the jar. So 1,000 points for trying and doing it, but you're expanding now and you're getting better. So you're moving into more complex composites, and these are the things that you're going to need to learn is, okay, glass is supposed to be in front of me. How do I get a jar that I only have a picture of, from behind me because I'm pasting in front of it to in front of me? So it's changing your blending mode. So just try copying. You can actually copy the whole image. I would just copy a marquee out, but you can copy the whole image and put it on its own layer, change the blending mode to soft light, and then change the opacity so it shows you through the glass, but the glass reflections will be in front of you. Yeah. But I think that's why Amber submits, because she knows we'll help and we'll suggest.
And she's definitely listening, because I know she took a lot of your advice on the one we're going to talk about next show.
Cool. Yeah, and I love this, because this is this is what I started, Mike. This before I even had a camera in my hands. When I first got a computer, I was part of this thing called the Walrus Wallpaper Club over on the news groups, and they would submit images, and they would say, make a desktop wallpaper in this group out of this image, and you would composite all these cool things together, and there would be like 60 or 70 people working on these images. Of course, for you new kids, it's called Reddit today. That's what they do on Reddit a lot. And so it essentially was this great, you got all these great wallpapers from all these people, but it taught me to composite and taught me to kind of blend modes and really get into that whole thing with Photoshop. So Amber, please reach out if you want, any one-on-one help or whatnot. I'd be more than happy to go over some images or do some edits for you and then record them. I tell this to everybody who submits. I think this, you guys need to reach out a little bit. I know I'm not on Facebook, but you know how to get a hold of me through my website or whatever. If you're interested and you need a tutorial for something, or you're like, okay, I heard what you said on the show. Can you show me how to do it? I'll make a tutorial for you. That's what I do. I'll just edit the image and record it while I do it. It won't be anything fancy, but you'll get it. Yep. So you get to watch it. So yeah, any of you guys out there with any of these images that we talk about, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, you're not on Facebook anymore, but we'll talk later at the end of the show about how all the different ways you can get in touch with AD and follow him. And of course, you could always just post something in Facebook, and I can relay the message too.
Absolutely,
that way too. Yep. So there's multiple ways. We haven't lost track with AD.
That's right. I'm still here.
Yep. All right, now up next is our good friend Milan.
Ooh, awesome.
And Milan Smith submits this one from Bulgaria.
Oh, man.
Let's see. It's one of the biggest water facilities in my country. It's a pity this time of year we had snowy winter for about 3 to 4 days, but I still managed to make a small winter walk, and this is the result. And yes, this is a slope. That's why it looks tilted to one side.
Yep. But the line in the background, Milan, the line in the background, your horizon, which I can clearly see, is tilted. So I understand the foreground's tilted, and that's cool, and the mid foreground is tilted, and that's fine. But always make sure that your horizon, way in the distance, that's got to be level, my friend. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about level.
And I wonder if the lean that you're seeing right there throws people off. You have a big lean, it going one way in front of you, and you get thrown off by the fact that you need to look at that far away horizon.
So you know what the dead giveaway for me is, Mike, without looking at the horizon?
What's that?
Conifer trees grow straight up.
And that one straight in the middle is leaning?
All of them are leaning. If you line these up on the edge of the screen, you see that all of them are leaning a little bit off to the left, which means that the horizon itself, which is the light line in the back. I wish I could just have a pointer and show you guys, but yeah, that light line that's in the back there, where the little snow is kind of crossing over that, that's your horizon. That's got to be straight no matter what, and it's not. I can tell you if I put it off to the edge of the screen, I can easily see. I actually just take the Chrome window and I can put it between my monitors, and I use the edge of my monitor just to kind of show that I can see the line. So and I always do that before I say anything, because I know that your eyes can play tricks on you, especially if you have bifocals, which I have. I don't know if many people know this, but if you have bifocals, you have to work very hard to make sure that your head, when you're using your camera, is absolutely level when you're trying to get lines to line up, because if you tilt your head a little to the side, everything becomes a parallelogram at that point, and actually the lines will distort. So you have to be very careful, and I've had to learn that since I've had bifocals, and I've got the lenses that basically have the no line in them.
Me too.
And so I've noticed, though, in a lot of my images, when I go out, I'm like, wow, yeah, I must have had my head just slightly turned. And, we'll maybe put our camera down low, and we'll kind of go like this when we look in it. Yep. And we don't realize, so now every time I'm in my camera, I use those lines on the inside of my viewfinder to check everything before I do it. But it's a big thing whenever there's water. Okay, and whenever you can see a distant horizon in landscape, always make sure they're straight, because it's going to make people just have an uneasy feeling no matter what. Even if they don't notice it, it gives people an uneasy feeling. And to maximize the power of your image, and you got a gorgeous image here of the snow. Looks just like upstate New York. Yesterday was snowing here like that. It was great. It's supposed to be spring here, but it's not. So it reminds me of home. But yeah, I mean, he's got a wonderful scene. I can see the snow flying, which I really like a lot. I love the tones of this. Millen's come so far in the last year. His images have just gone. I mean, we got to go back and find some of his first images, dude. And we got to have a show on Millen and his progress, just from then to now. I mean, you know what we need to do? We should do a special. We should do a special.
A Millen special?
Not just Millen.
Oh, okay.
But because we have a lot of people in the group that have really,
yes.
I mean, that's why we continue to do the show, is because we're seeing people like trying new things and being creative. And I think it would be wonderful just to do a show about, the core people that submit every week, and we'll go back and find the way back images and show the then and now.
That would be cool. That would be cool, because I love seeing that improvement. I think a number of people come to mind: Amber and Christina and Kristen. I think it's Kristen, Nancy, Millen, and a number of others. And speaking of Christina, she just got here and missed the first half of the show. We talked all about her image, so she's going to go back and listen. All right. So up next is actually the one who won, Kenny Robertson. This was the winning image for that month, for May. Not May, for February. He said, took this of my grandpa in his shop a couple weeks ago. Tried to bring the vision that I saw of him working in my mind's eye into the frame.
Yeah, I can't fault this image at all. I think it's a gorgeous image, and it's just got a little of everything, and the focus point is perfect. I am not drawn. I like looking around the room in his shop and seeing all the different stuff, but it's that look of him and in the high key light in the background and everything. I think is a beautiful image and very well done. And is Kenny submitted many images? Because we don't see too many from him.
No, I don't think so. This may have been his first one. To be honest, I don't remember if he's done any more.
Way to come out of the gates there, Ken.
Yeah, this is fabulous. And yeah, you're right. Once you look at it, the guys, the grandpa's obviously the subject, but then I look around and see all kind of things in there too.
Yeah, but I'm not drawn away from him in that respect. He is really with his hand on the lever, and he's really, you can see he's working there and on the machine, and yeah, that's really awesome. It's a great job. If there's suggestions, maybe even more of a vignette on it, although he's used most of the room as a natural vignette, which I kind of like. And there's a bunch of stuff that you could do, shooting at a different time of the day. And again, not faulting this image. I just always offer up suggestions for things to try for different creative looks. But I would love to see what it would look like with that light on and just using the light as your source of illumination for the room, and him concentrating just like he is with just the light shining down on what he's working on there. That's what I think of, like, how can I do different things with this situation and try different ways to, and again, this great stock image, even though it's grandpa and it means something for him, this is a great, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would sell too. I have a shot of my kid eating a hot dog, and it's sold a bunch.
Yeah, yep.
So I could see this one selling too.
Kenny, keep submitting images, man. These are great.
Yeah, we'd love to see more. All right, up next is, let me get this ready. I didn't add any words, did I, to this?
Well, I just say that here's to new beginnings and a head start into spring, which I wish was true, but it is really not.
So you see it. That's not Kenny. But for whatever reason on my screen, I'm not seeing the name.
Oh, it's Christina's
there's
image
no text.
again.
Yeah, Christina. So, Christina entered in the beginners group. This is her image in the regular group, and you read the text. I can't read the text because it's off my screen. That's weird.
Strange. Yeah, this is a very classic image. I like it a lot. I think for me, it's somewhere like it's shot well. I like the light. I like the lens choice. I like all of that stuff. You know what the hardest part about it is that it's a symmetrical image that's not symmetrical. You know, like it's kind of a little off.
And a little bit to the left.
Yeah, it's a little off. And I'm not sure, like, and I ask this all the time, and Christina's out there, and I'd love to know. But Christina, was it just like you just wanted to represent, like, you know, growth? Or because I know the whole, in your head, the whole here's to new beginnings and a head start into spring. But I don't get the head start into spring thing. I do, you know, I know it's a new plant growing, but there's nothing to signify, like some plants grow in the middle of fall, you know, some plants pop up in fall, which is weird, but they do. So for me, I get the whole new beginnings thing or the growth. That's what I get from this image. So it's hard for me to derive the story beyond that of the image. So it means something to you, which is important, and that's the driving force behind it. But remember, when you're conveying a story to someone else, you want to make sure, if you have the story and you're very strong about it and you want them to get it, you've got to really be over the top about putting it in their face so that they get it. And,
I don't know how you would say spring. The new beginnings. The new beginnings is easy. You get that from it. It definitely screams that.
So, but new beginnings to me would be more like, I know it's a baby plant, but almost I would even want to see it even be a younger plant, maybe almost just popping out of the seed sort of thing, or something, you know, with a little bit younger. This is kind of like a young adult plant here. It's already
about to bloom.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think about all of those things, and I know it's like, well, you're thinking really deep on all this, but you have to when you're trying to convey a thing out to other people. It doesn't reach into the fine art realm because there's a little bit too much going on. There's a little bit too much dirt on the hands, extraneous extra dirt around the edges and under the fingernails and all of that kind of stuff. And it isn't, you know, a more fine art image would be a little bit higher key and a little bit cleaned up. And very symmetrical. I think that's the thing that keeps it from there for me. So while it's an image that represents something for her and would work perfect in a blog or anything like that for, you know, this one isn't so much as a selling image as the other image that we did, her first image, which I think was easily a sellable image without a problem. This one doesn't quite do it for me. Now it might sell one or two, but I don't think it would be like a consistent seller because I don't get the message that, yeah, and it does. Jan brings up that the hands almost form a heart, and there's a thing, right? You can tilt your hands and practice a little bit with this, and Christina's in that mode right now. So hopefully she's getting that we're not tearing her image down. What we're doing is saying, keep going, keep trying, keep experimenting with this and trying different things to see what works out and really conveys that message for you. The hardest thing in photography to do is convey your message because you're already preloaded. That's the problem. It's really hard to erase what we already know and put ourselves in the first timers mode of seeing an image that we didn't take because we have a backstory. And that's the difficulty in photography. Welcome to why it's hard to take a really good photo and convey a story. And that's why, you know, certain images, you look at them and you're like, wow, I see exactly why that photo was taken. And then other images, you kind of make up your own story. In some images, you don't make up any story at all. You just, it's too chaotic. Right. I think this is an image where you make up your own story. That's kind of the way I look at it. It's kind of right in the middle. So it shows that she's practicing and trying different things. And I think that she needs to keep going. I'm loving to see, you know,
I'm always excited every month to see what Christina and Amber and you know, some of the others are going to submit because they are always. Seems like I don't know how they're going to keep doing this every month, keep one up in the previous month.
Well, and lessons learned to anybody else out there who's A, not submitting, Jan, and B, anybody else who just, who is submitting, and is to keep trying this different stuff. This is what's going to make you grow as a photographer, is basically being willing to go outside the box. And that's where all the knowledge is, outside the box. What you already know is inside the box. That's the way it works. So, and Gary brings up a good thing here. You could use the warp tool to straighten this. Yeah, I could put this in Photoshop and make this perfect symmetry using the warp tool and the liquify tool, and probably make it perfect. And you can even, Christina, play with those tools and have fun with them, because you can make some really crazy, wild images. You could make the stem of the flower like all curved and all sorts of crazy stuff. But I think here I'm basically shooting for a more of out of the camera experience, because that's, I think, what she's presented me with. But yeah, you could definitely edit this and do a lot of things with this particular image. We don't go into that too much in the show, talking about fixing an image. We always talk about trying it again, trying better yourself in the camera.
Well, you showed us sometimes. You showed us some. You've done some live edits.
Yeah, post edits are kind of just to get the point across, though. I hardly ever suggest re-editing an image to sort out a problem. To fix a photo, although that is a thing, and I have done it here and there on photos that I couldn't go retrieve again. But a lot of times I use it as a learning experience, and I'm like, I'm going to go take this photo again, and I'm going to try to, try some of those suggestions, different positions, different lighting, that sort of thing, just to see what I can come up with. Because that's just part of the learning process, and you got to be careful with closing that out too much and not doing it once in a while. It's easy to say, well, I'll edit it and we'll go with that. But once in a while, you still got to do those reshoots just so you can expand your range a little bit, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, we got one image left for tonight, and that is this one from Lewis. I'm not going to try the last name. From Lewis, and he says, before photography, I didn't care much for flowers. You gave them a week or two and they would die, but now I've learned to appreciate them more, even though I gave them to my lovely girlfriend. Appreciate them more when you have a girlfriend or a wife is a good thing. I feel like they were for me too. So take advantage of the Valentine's leftovers. I guess he set this up and shot it with a fill flash and umbrella. What else? My main goal was to get as much light deep into the petals that had harsh shadows.
Nice. Yeah, he did some touch up in Lightroom, balanced the shadows out, and so on and so forth. And he wasn't looking for total sharpness, so he shot at f7.1, which, in macro mode is going to still give you some depth in the focus there. So yeah, I think excellent job on it, and definitely goal achieved, which is, first thing we always want to talk about out of the gate is if you specify your goal to me, which was he wanted to get light deep into this rose, and it's a beautiful shot. It's very monochromatic, which I really love. About a fine art image like this is what I would consider fine art. It's got a very monochromatic single subject, very minimalistic. All of those things are great, and so he definitely hit his goal there without any problem at all. And I think if I had one suggestion, I'd say make sure that if you're going to do that editing in Lightroom, that you take care of small things in the image. Always go around your image, every single line, every single area, especially for fine art stuff. You want them to be very clean. And this image has a few things in it, and one of them would be there, just below the center of the rose to the right, about 1, 2, 3 lines out. There's a little white mark there that's near the center, so that's going to be a slight distraction. Yep. There's also a little hair on the left side of the photo, about 4 rings in from the edge, and another dark mark there. So you just want to clone those out and get rid of them, because you got a very clean, very soft, very pretty image here, and we don't want any detritus in the image. We don't want any of those little pop-ups, to come in there and say, hey, look, I'm hanging out on your really pretty rose right now, just making my appearance right here in the middle of your nice photo. Yeah, I don't miss stuff like that because I was kind of really taking myself into the image and really getting kind of tunnel visioning on the image, which means it's a very successful image. But, always remember that, if an image like this gets bought and it gets, those things they're there forever. So I usually will take, little things like that. It would be like if there was an insect that was inconsequential or a dust spot or anything like that, I get rid of all of those distractions and just leave the rows and the tones and the light. That's your story. That's what your goal was, and you definitely have achieved it. So, beautiful image.
And even if you're not thinking of selling it, not everybody is thinking of selling their images. The lessons you learn from if you were trying to sell it carry over to even if you're not trying to. Those are lessons. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me give you a scenario real quick on that subject because I think we've not talked about this before, or I may have mentioned it in a different context. So, all right, maybe Luis is not going to sell his image. Maybe he's not interested in selling his image, but he brought it to the show, and people watched the show. And suppose somebody out there said, "I want this image on my wall, no matter what."
Yeah.
Even though you don't sell your image, you're going to sell your image.
If somebody offered you money for it, yes.
People are going to come at you with money, right? So that's why we usually check for like noise and the shadows and all this stuff, because when you print something, it's way different than when you see it on a screen. Everything comes to life when you print it. Mm-hmm. So we have to be real careful with our editing and all that sort of stuff, just to make sure that, hey, if somebody comes at you and says, "Hey, bud, I want this in a 30 by 60 for my wall," or a 40 by 60 for my wall, I think it's more of a traditional crop, then that's going to get blown up. And suddenly those little specks are going to become, a half-inch mark in the middle of the photo. And while the person who saw and fell in love with the photo online didn't see that, you didn't see it,
right?
If I blew that up and put it on my wall, you'd definitely see it. And then you'd be like, well, that's all I look at now.
Yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
This is true.
Yeah.
So that's why we do the little what we call border checks. But in this case, you want to just go through the whole image with a fine-tooth comb and find all these little marks and find all this little stuff and just clone them right out, man. You're not altering the mood or the life of the image at all. What you're doing is just cleaning up your studio a little bit. Yeah. Just getting those things that decided to show up and get them out there. So,
that was our last image. Cool. So. Before we head out, I wanted to mention, go over to thecreators.com, AD's Patreon page, and consider becoming a Patreon of AD. He does, like you mentioned before, if you have something that he wants, that you want him to do, a video on, hey, show me how to do this, AD, he will take that under consideration and maybe post a video out here on Patreon. And what you have several plans here, AD. Was the first one's only $1.
Yeah, actually, so the community is a community, okay? Yeah. So I have it up there for $1. I treat everybody in the community, they all get the use of, if they want the video. So this is how the Patreon works. A lot of people always ask me, like, I don't get Patreon. What's the deal? I can just watch videos on YouTube. Well, Patreon is a community of people that all basically want to learn together, that all have, knowledge themselves, but they also want more knowledge in certain areas. Patreon is basically subscriber driven. So you join up for $1 and you say, "Hey, AD, I'm trying to learn macro photography. Can you show me the basics of macro photography?" Now I have a subject, I go make a video, and I share it only with you guys just on Patreon. Mm-hmm. And you can get that for $1. That's how you support me, so I can make sure I have the right equipment to shoot the videos and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what Patreon does. Now there's other levels. I do like business consulting, that sort of stuff, where like if you're trying to get your website to be, better SEO, that sort of thing, you can do a $35 a month thing where once a month I will get with you, we'll talk about your business plan, we'll talk about your website, we'll talk about your social media, and we'll give you goals to reach, to work on for the next month to get you to where you want to be. So that's a $35 a month level. I have Janice Sullivan is doing, I think, $75 a month with me, and I'm actually producing a podcast for her. So she
Wow.
doesn't want to do what you do, Mike, or what
Yeah.
I do behind the scenes when she's doing her show. So I'm producing it for her. She lives on the West Coast. We're going to make it happen. I'm
Awesome.
going to take the Skype calls. I'm going to regurgitate them out to YouTube and Twitch and stream. I think she's doing Crowdcast. So we're going to restream those, but I'm going to produce it for her so she can just do the show. So she doesn't have to think about, oh, there's like 5 buttons off to the side I got to push. I got to pre-program all this stuff. And so we have levels for that as well. And my Patreon stuff is all flexible. So if you don't see it on there, jump in there and write to me and ask if you're interested and want to know more. That's what it's all about. It's a community of creatives, and you're in there, and you've been a member in there. And I'm getting back. I'm building a new studio specifically for Patreon. I said it was a YouTube studio, which the videos end up on YouTube anyway, but you get early access on, and you actually get to control what videos I make. Whereas people on YouTube don't get any of that. So, if you follow me only on YouTube, and you're probably like, why doesn't he make a video on this? Or he only makes videos on that, or once in a while. That's because it's the people in my Patreon who ask for the videos.
Yeah.
So when they request a video, that's what we do. And Monday, this Monday? Yeah, Monday, tomorrow.
You're starting back
Tomorrow.
up?
I'm starting back up live
Awesome.
streaming again, and we're continuing on our Luminar Master course right now. And it's basically we're just going through Luminar step by step and teaching people how to use a different photo editor so that they can kind of
I need to watch that.
get away from the other stuff. So
Yeah, because I own Luminar, and I haven't used it enough. I need to watch that. And I'm a supporter. I think that Patreon is a great way to also help support some of the people that you enjoy their product and enjoy what they're doing and want to show some support of that, because none of this stuff is free, but the support is super cheap. I mean, it doesn't have to be that expensive. Anyway, so that's one way to follow AD. There's also the explorographer.com, where you can go over there and follow him. I think I'm actually on your shop site, part of the site right now, but if we go back to the main page, AD has got your blog basically here, and all kind of different ways to contact you down here, and Facebook.
yeah, who
You took
is
Facebook
AD?
off.
Yeah, it's gone, man. I'm really gone.
Who is-
really.
Why are you saying who's AD? What?
So if you go up to the top and it says, I think up there somewhere, who is AD? That's where my contact page is. So
There
there's
you go.
some videos about me and what I do, and then if you go to the bottom, there's a little contact thing, and by the way,
Yeah.
all of the review shows appear in appearances. So that video thing right there, our shows are in there. I made a playlist, and they get updated when you release shows. I put them in the appearances list. I'm not stealing your views because they're
I see
actually
'em.
hero
Yep.
photos.
Yeah. Very good. That's cool.
Yeah, so you can find all of that stuff in there, and you can contact me on that page if you have questions.
So just because you're not on Facebook, we haven't lost you. There's plenty of ways to get AD. And talking about how you can get this show, of course, on YouTube here. If you're watching us live, or on Facebook, you're watching us live. You can get it either way. You should subscribe to us on YouTube. But if you want to get it in the form of like iTunes or something like that, go over to jpedross/subscribe. Cursor down, and here's the links to the. We only produce a video portion of this show. The other one I do, we have an audio too, but for this one, you really need the video. So we're on YouTube, we're on Vimeo, we're on iTunes with a video large and a video small too, from there. So those are the places you can get it if you want to subscribe to it. I generally put it out on YouTube first, and this live show will be out on YouTube until I will end up moving it into the live show thing, and then the produced show will have the beginning and the end, the pre-show and post-show cut off. So
yeah, that's the bonus actually of showing up for the live.
You get the pre and post.
And if you go to Mike's channel and you click the notification bell on his channel, you can join us for the live thing, and you get the pre and post show, because we always talk about silly things during the pre and post show that you guys can join in the conversation with. And I think it's Yeah.
That's part of my favorite. That's some of my favorite parts. We're about to head into post show right now. So, AD, thanks for coming out. Glad to see you. I know you're not fully moved in, but at least getting settled in, and excited to see when the new studio gets ready.
Thanks, man. And just be thankful you can't see behind the camera. 'Cause
Hey, anything outside the range of the camera, doesn't matter. All right, so that's it for tonight. And till next show, keep shooting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Now we're in post show.
The post show.
All right. I forgot what I wanted to say in post show.
I have a subject in mind. Yeah. And are you doing a show Tuesday?
I am, yes.
Okay. See, I don't know if that's why I didn't ask on the air whether or not you wanted to talk about this or not, because it's a pretty big piece of news.
Okay.
And I don't want to cover it here if you and Tim are going to talk about it. So I will just mention what the news is, and you can say we're going to cover it, and then we'll say, okay, I'll just join you in chat then on Tuesday. SmugMug purchased Flickr.
I don't know what to think of that.
Okay. Is it something you guys are going to
We're going to just talk about it, but not in depth. I mean, do you have...
Well, I got a letter, and I wanted to share the letter.
Well, now, wait. I am both a SmugMug customer, paying customer.
Me too.
And I am a free member of Flickr. I didn't get any letter. You got a physical letter or email?
I am a paying member on both sites.
Okay.
I know the president and CEO of SmugMug personally.
Okay.
So he's no longer, by the way, with the company. He's gone on to start a new company called Cake. And I have not fully... I've got to get over there and check it out. It's a brand new social network for photographers and artists. But I have not been involved yet. But Chris McGaskill was the creator and starter of SmugMug, and turned out he grew up in a town that was just 15 minutes away from my house. Long story short, we had a telephone conversation. We learned a lot about each other and thought it was really cool. And he is an amazing guy. And the company, I was a customer before I ever talked to him. They purchased one of my images. It hangs in the SmugMug studios. If you go there, you can see one of my images takes up their wall. It's really amazing. And that opened up the door for the conversation. And he called me and said, I'd like to talk to you. And that was through the Arcanum because he knew me from Trey and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, the company was amazing. And then they changed. And they changed their kind of philosophy a little bit. And I noticed things were getting a little wacky. And then they did the price jump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So essentially, I bought Flickr. I'm just going to put it out there.
Because of the price jump? They use that? Yeah.
We all bought Flickr. SmugMug didn't buy Flickr. They raised the prices, and in 2 months, they bought a company. They told me when I originally got with SmugMug, and I love this company. I support this company. I pay them a lot of money every year, and I don't make enough money to make all that back. But
Me either,
want my stuff out there. I get a lot of hits. I get a lot of movement on my website because of them, and I also send a lot of people their way. But it sticks in my craw a little bit that they would raise the price and say, we haven't raised the price in 5 years. We're raising the price now. It was a big price jump. It wasn't a little price jump. It was a big one. And then they buy a company. They acquire a company. It's buying. That's what they do. To me, that doesn't set right, first of all. Mm-hmm. And then I got this letter. I just want to share this letter with you. And I
wonder why I didn't get a letter.
Well, I pay for Flickr and I pay for SmugMug, and this could be why.
Okay.
So I can just read this. You don't need a screen share, right?
No, that's fine. You can just read it.
So it's just basically a letter that says SmugMug. I can say this. SmugMug plus Flickr. And at the top it says, we're excited to announce Flickr has agreed to be acquired by SmugMug. Okay. The photography platform dedicated to visual storytellers. So SmugMug is first. This letter is from Flickr, supposedly. But it sounds like it's from SmugMug, but I'll read the rest. SmugMug has had a long history of empowering people who love photography and who want to improve their craft, blah, 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 blah. We love you, blah, blah, blah. Next line. Nothing will change immediately with regards to your Flickr account. This is in bold writing, by the way. You will still access Flickr with your current login credentials. You will have the same Flickr experience that you do now. We will continue to work for you and your Flickr experience to make it even better. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm cool with that. That's fine. So nothing's going to change. No big deal. Next paragraph.
Nothing's going to change immediately.
Right. Next paragraph. We think you are going to love Flickr under SmugMug ownership, but you can choose not to have your Flickr account and data transferred to SmugMug until May 25th of 2018. Wait a minute. You just said it's not going to change. Nothing's changing immediately. Only on May 25th, as far as I can tell, that's a month and 3 days. That's pretty immediate as far as I'm concerned. They're going to transfer your data and account to SmugMug. Yeah. Are they eliminating Flickr? So the next line, if you want to keep your Flickr account and data from being transferred, you must go to your Flickr account, download your photos and videos that you want to keep, then delete your account forever.
I don't know what they're doing there, because it's transferred to SmugMug. So I mean, are they gonna? You're still gonna have Flickr.com where all your stuff's at, right? Are they gonna?
No.
You think it's now going to be? They're just going to merge it and Flickr's gone?
Next paragraph. If you do not delete your account by May 25th, 2018, your Flickr account and data will be transferred to SmugMug and governed by SmugMug's terms and policy procedures. Flickr is going away, as far as I can tell from this letter.
I would be surprised, though, if SmugMug buys them and then kills the name, because the name is what you're buying, right?
This doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't understand. And this is the problem that I'm having with SmugMug, because this is written, it says the Flickr team, but it's written by SmugMug.
Sure.
This is how they've been. This really, vague, in a time right now when transparency and, making privacy policies simpler to understand and less like legal jargon is at the forefront of everybody's news broadcast right now. It seems to me a really bad time for them to be playing around like this. Am I going to be charged, or am I not going to be charged for Flickr anymore? They don't even say.
Yeah. So obviously you can't tell from that, but I would be surprised if they don't want that. For like you, who's paying both, they would not want to give up. One of those revenue streams. They're going to want both of them. I'm wondering if what they're saying is we're still going to have Flickr.com, but you're now going to be governed by the SmugMug team. And
you want to know? Want to know what I think they're going to do, though?
What?
I think they're going to move you to a SmugMug basic account and charge you.
Oh, maybe use the SmugMug basic account, but just have it on Flickr.com, but you really are governed by that?
Yeah, I think May 25th, I'm going to get a thing that says your account's been transferred, and you had a pro account with Flickr, and now you have a pro account with SmugMug, and you're going to be charged this much.
Yeah, no, that's probably pretty good. I wonder. I'd love to know from Tim, because I know Tim. I don't think he pays for an account, but maybe he does, because he's mentioned in the past that that's one of the ways he backs up his images. Because does Flickr allow you to upload RAW files?
You can upload full res images on a pro account, yes. And you can hide them from people, so you can upload to your own, like a cloud storage sort of thing.
I wonder if he's doing that. Yeah.
It's $24.99 a year or $25.99 a year, and it's totally unlimited. So I can upload as much as I want. So I don't think you can upload RAW files, but maybe you can. I don't know. But I know you can upload full res JPEGs. People do it all the time. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're right with the transparency. I think that's something that's going to be hard for companies to learn because they so want to hide everything from us.
Well, we talked about before we even did the pre-show about legalities and suing and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of these companies have to do this because there are people out there who are doing nothing but looking to take advantage of the loophole.
Right.
So they have to write, terms of service that are ridiculous. So I think what has changed is the simplistic versions of the privacy policies and the terms of service have been simplified so that people can understand them. But the lawyers have also said, in a court of law, this is actually what this means.
Right.
And that's a big problem right now. My whole thing is like, you can leave the complicated lawyer speak in there. That's fine. And I will, if I have a real problem with it, I'll have my lawyer look at it. Right. Or I'll have a lawyer look at it and say, should I be doing this as a photographer with my images? Should I be putting them, if I have that much of a problem understanding what is there? I've read a lot of these documents, and seriously, people, if you just slow down and read them, they're pretty easy to understand. You just have to follow it, and it takes attention to do it. But simplifying them, it seems like a good thing to do, but essentially it's a bad thing to do because they're extending what some of this terminology means in court, and people don't get that until it's too late, until you get into court over something like this, and then you realize, well, you said this, and they're like, yeah, we said that, but that's what it means.
Yeah.
And
I know when I was in college many years ago, we were doing, and I think it was in the business law class, they were talking about, the lawnmowers, how they have the little thing where you got to close your, on the handles, you got to close the thing.
Oh, the thing that if you let go of it,
the mower stops. So the reason that came about was because of a lawsuit, and some dude, it had to be a dude. It wasn't a lady. It was a dude. Had decided that, you know what, I can mow my hedges, but if I just pick this lawnmower up and hold it while I mow the ledges. And the lawnmower ran, of course, because there was the lever wasn't there, and he ended up, of course, hurting himself pretty good.
Sure.
And sued the lawnmower company. It did not say on the box not to pick it up and hold it and mow his hedges, and no design that they did stopped him from doing it. And I don't know what he won, but whatever happened from that case, now our lawnmowers have that little thing there.
Yeah. But I've told everybody that my headstone's going to say that I spent my entire life paying for someone else's stupidity.
Yes, we all do, yes.
It's just like road signs and everything else are all up there for that very reason, is because someone had an accident somewhere, so they had to limit something, or they have to, it's constant reminder that there are a lot of people out there who just don't use common sense. It's just use your common sense. You just...
Yeah. But that's hard for people.
Well, now, if you don't have common sense, at least recognize you don't have it and ask a friend who does.
Now, Flickr, before selling to SmugMug, was owned by Yahoo, right?
That is correct, yeah.
So you wonder if that played into it. One, that either Flickr was worried that they would not exist at some point because of Yahoo, or Yahoo is desperate for cash and they need to dump some of their assets that have value.
I don't think that Yahoo's going to be around very much longer.
Right.
They're a UK-based company, I believe, and the problem is that Google and and Bing, as much as I hate to admit it, there are people that are pretty divided on that. But there are people who use Bing who won't use Google. There's people who use Google who won't be. And there's people actually that use DuckDuckGo who are, they also wear tin hats. But anyway, that's a different subject. But no, it's basically one of those things where Yahoo, their mail has failed. They tried to do all this stuff. They've had CEO problems, with the people running the company,
right.
and Flickr has been their basic. As far as I'm concerned, Flickr has been their shining light, and I don't want to see changes happen to Flickr at all. I don't want my Flickr account owned by SmugMug to go away. I want SmugMug to handle my business end of it, and I want Flickr to handle my contacts and that sort of stuff. I get more referrals through Flickr than any other company.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see that go away.
You always hope that so I'm worried about if Flickr was stayed with Yahoo, what would end up happening to them. I think that eventually they were going to have to sell them because you're right. Yahoo's going to die. It's a slow death. We're all watching it. Someday we're going to hear the news that they're gone. And if Flickr was probably their shining star, their most valuable asset. I don't know. I'm just saying that. Then this is the last hurrah. They get rid of it. It could be that Flickr couldn't stand on its own. Yahoo can't let it go without any money. They're going to have to get money for it.
Yeah.
So that means who comes the buyer? It may be one of those things that there may not have been very many good options. You just hope that SmugMug doesn't take it and destroy it. There's so many things that I've liked this little company. I liked them when they were a little company and they were running it well. And then somebody takes it, a Google takes it, and it's just gone. And they say when they first take it, we're going to keep the whole team together. We're going to let them run independent. They're going to do their own thing. And then before long, they're all gone.
And as a photography person, I mean, a prime example of that is Nik Software.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
And those people went on and luckily created Luminar. So... Yeah. That team is kind of still together but Google took them over, eliminated the team, didn't do anything with it, put it for free on the net. I mean, it was kind of just a gateway thing so that they could get the tools and whatnot integrated into Google Photos. Mm-hmm. So they wanted some of that technology to drive the Google Photo Editor. That was their big thing. So they took some of that stuff and used it for that. And then, now DxO owns them and they're charging some crazy nutty price for this stuff again. And DxO overcharges for everything. And one company, I love their software. They have the best denoising software on the planet. There's no denoising software that I know that can do what their stuff does, and they know it. But every time they come out with a new version of their software, there's literally like no difference between the new and the old. Maybe they add one feature, but they charge you full price for the new version.
Wow.
And then on top of that, well, I think you do get a slight discount if you're a previous owner. But on top of that, the company offers all of their previous versions within the latest version going back. So if you want to use the older algorithms, to me that's like you're not really improving, you're just kind of shuffling the cards, because otherwise you just eliminate the old stuff because the new stuff is way better.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I want to go back to version 7 when I have version 11, and then version 11 was groundbreaking? It doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure everybody's different. So
we'll see with that. I don't know. What else does Yahoo have? Because who would use Yahoo Mail now? They lost every single account. Every single account was hacked. If you still using Yahoo Mail, that's just nuts.
I am.
What? You're actually using it, or do you have an account?
I have two junk mail accounts.
Oh, okay, junk mail.
That I just use it when I'm like, oh, you want my address, huh? Or you want my email, huh? And I don't want to hear from you ever again. Well, all right, there you go. Have that one.
Yep.
And I don't ever go check it. I don't ever go look at it. It could be hacked. I don't care. It doesn't have any personal.
I have one of those accounts too. And you got to sign up. If you have to give them an email, and it's not going to be one of those things where you then got to go and click on it and do something with it. That's what I use, is that junk one.
I use them in stores too. Stores love it because they want to send me all their ads and stuff. I'm like, you ain't sending it to my home email. You can send it to my junk email account. So, but yeah, I don't use Yahoo Mail. I haven't used it in years. I use it. I have to have one, but I think they changed that. I think you had to have one originally for Flickr. You had to use your Yahoo to sign in, but I think you can sign in now with any email account that you want.
I think you can, because I don't have a Yahoo account. And
I still use mine to sign in, but it's just because it's been there. So Gary out in chat, I just read that. He has an AOL account.
Is AOL still Gary,
around? Don't tell anybody what it is, because you talk about hacking stuff. No, I don't. I don't know. Do they still? Gary? Do they still serve up their email or whatnot? They still maintain servers? How do they do that?
So
must be. Somebody bought them out and just still offers the service.
This a local company here was in the early days of the internet called MindSpring.
I remember that.
They were an ISP, and I love that
Yep.
name. I was a customer of theirs. It was dial up at first, and I think I got DSL, and they eventually sold or got bought by Earthlink. But as a MindSpring customer, we were able to keep our MindSpring accounts,
Right.
and that's the account I've had since I don't know, maybe 94, 93, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I've had this MindSpring account. Then eventually Earthlink said, hey, if you want to keep this account, there's a monthly fee.
Ooh.
I still actually pay that because I don't want to give
Really?
up that thing. But eventually I need to get rid of it because I'm not using it that much anymore. My wife...
Well, eventually they're probably going to eliminate it anyways. Because,
Yes.
like, Mike, if you're the only last paying customer, you're $24 a year or whatever you pay. It's probably not going to support a server farm.
That's true. So at some point, they're going to give me a note that says it's dying. I think my wife has actually moved most of her email off to Gmail, so she's not even using it that much anymore.
Yeah, and remember Netscape?
Yep.
Remember those guys?
Oh, yeah.
They had that for a while. I remember America Online, and we had what was CompuServe? CompuServe back in the day. I first got into all this stuff back. I had a 300 baud modem. I mean, that was, and we did. I think Sprint had a network.
Yeah.
I think Sprint's original network was like an online chat service when they first started. They weren't even a phone company. They were just an AOL kind of place.
Yeah.
Sprint first started.
I remember at work when people started getting AOL accounts, and they were talking about how AOL was the future. And I said, no, there's this other thing, because AOL at the time didn't even give you an internet connection. It was just it was just their world. Right. And I was telling them, no, the future is the internet. And at the time, there was no World Wide Web. It was just the internet and whatever you can do there, and some bulletin boards, that kind of stuff. And eventually that people saw that when the World Wide Web came out.
Right.
And I remember the first provider I had might have been WorldCom. They gave us the World Wide Web, and then a few months later they took it away. For whatever reason, they were having trouble with it, and they took it away. So once you opened our eyes to this world, you couldn't take it away. So a bunch of us left.
Wow.
Yep.
I remember when I first started. One of the things, I think I brought this up on the show before about we were talking about websites and the internet, and at the time, roughly 26% of the world had a connection to the internet. Mm-hmm. And so as of June 2017, these numbers are pretty ripe, only 51% of the world is actually connected to the internet. So if you think there are a lot of people out there that are on the internet right now, it's growing and growing and growing. And so, we still don't have the entire world.
Barely half.
Yeah.
Just barely half. Well, there's a lot of places that are undeveloped, or their governments are the problem. Yeah.
In the developed world, 81% of the developed world is on the internet. But globally, if you just take everybody, right now we're just below about 51% in 2017. And in developing worlds, we're down to about 43% right now. So it's pretty amazing that we're still not, everybody has connection. We're not all linked yet. I can't imagine when the entire world becomes linked what it's going to be like. I think you're competing with a lot of other photographers right now. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Well,
crazy stuff.
All right, guys out in chat, we're going to end the live show. We'll see y'all next time. Good night, guys.
Good night.
You wait for that to stop.